All right, we're back with the Makers and Founders podcast. And I'm Les Collegiate with my trusty sidekick, Mark Gallo. Dr. Mark Gallo, maybe. I don't know. You might be a doctor. Yeah. And we are with Brian Klein. Thank you for joining us, Brian.
That's Brian Klein.
And we would like to know a little bit about you, just real quick, before we just get started into the big deal of everything. How long have you been an EO member?
So 3 years officially. I think this is the start. I think going into my 4th year.
Okay.
So I think about 22.
Cool. What's the name of the company, the EO qualifying company?
Yes.
Corporate Events Inc. is the name of the qualifying company, which interesting backstory there of.
Well, we like interesting backstories since it's a podcast, so please feel free to tell. Well, how did you get into that, and how was it?
Second generation, kind of born into this. I didn't really have a choice. Parents were involved in corporate audiovisual from the age of, I think I was like 5 or something, moved out to.
There was audiovisual back then?
There was audiovisual back then. 35 millimeters, overhead projectors, lights, sound. That was all still a thing.
Yeah.
So Dad, I think, moved us out of California, born in California, moved us out to Arizona to get a job with my uncle, doing audiovisual, try to provide a better life. After some time, Mom always kind of worked waitress or something, but she got involved in it when I was about 10, working with my dad.
Got it. That seems logical.
Yeah. So in doing that kind of corporate audiovisual for, my whole life, as long as I can remember, even worked with them a little bit, in college when they moved out here back in the day. But yeah, they kind of hit to a point where I think it hit a ceiling, with what they could do and what their promises made, promises kept kind of things. With certain owners back in the day. So I think at the spry age of like 50 something, which I'm approaching here, my dad was like, that's it, I'm retiring. This is another deal that kind of, fell through. And he was always in my whole life, he's always been the general manager.
Sure.
Of an audiovisual rental house or providing corporate audiovisual for hotels and services. So at that age, when he kind of, the deal didn't come through as promised, he decided to retire.
What's your age difference?
So he's at 80. So
you're 33,
31 years.
Yeah.
So, young age. And
so you're 21 roughly.
Yeah.
When you're coming in, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and I think
smartest you'll ever be, 21, I think is Yeah.
I'm not trying to brag, but I was a Navy monitor back in junior high, so I understand. I understand where you're at. I wasn't a nerd. I didn't join the AV club, but I was a Navy monitor. I get to do the reel. So basically, we're the same. If you ever need somebody to back up, I'll step in.
I learned in college too.
I had a camera with a VHS tape that went in it.
Well, so now you're bragging. You're bragging.
Real quick, with your father in the retirement phase, you were saying something, and I was kind of getting the gist that was he maybe not adapting to new technology, or was just sick of it, or what was?
No, this was and this is something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. He's always been the general manager, running offices, setting up offices, growing operations.
Got it.
And I think early on, 12, something like that, where the owner of the company he's worked for back in the day, this company they had built up and given blood, sweat, and tears his whole life to, decided to sell. And he told the story, and I could always used to say, like, for one night, can we not talk about audiovisual at the dinner table? That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
Especially mom and dad are involved. But no, it was the story of how the owner at the time, we'll leave the names out, was basically getting acquired. And they said, okay, we have this extra $500,000 over here for your executive team. Like, how would you like that distributed? And with the executive team in the room, he's like, no, I'll keep that. That's just mine. So that was like one of the first kind of, working your butt off for somebody and then kind of getting screwed over, if you will.
Right.
At the end of the day, where, cut ties with that one, obviously, when the company was acquired or whatnot. And then, coming into San Diego, doing similar things that he'd done, growing operations, and all that kind of good jazz, take it from 0 to a couple of mil and hit your marks. And I think at the end of that, it's like, well, the thing we promised you, well, we'd like to invest the money this way. Why don't you just, kind of string you along? And I think he just seen enough to be like, I'm over it.
Right.
And my mom, they've always kind of worked together since I was 10, in the same office, same kind of, doing audio.
That's a unique characteristic. I mean, so not a lot of people can pull that off. Yeah.
So did you take over, like, are you 100% owner? Or you still share with your dad? Like, how does it work?
Oh, I can break that down. So, kind of filling the whole
family things are always weird sometimes.
No. We have definitely a weird family, but with the corporate events thing where my mom working there at the same time, well, I'm retiring too. So it's about a year, I think, and trying, like, say, freelance or producing. And
Mom's still around too?
Mom's still around.
Okay, good for them, man.
And Dad, I think, trying to, like, team up with some people, kind of, feel good about that. Mom was like, you know what, because the clients that we used to have on at the old company we worked for would still call my mom like, hey, we know you don't work there anymore, but we still want to work with you. And so she kind of got to that point like, hey, Jerry, my dad's name Jerry and Ricka, props to Mom and Dad. I'm going to do this myself. Well, we're just going to start our own company. So mom was actually the one that, had that courage and took that step to go down to the, city office and, file for a business license, all that kind of good jazz. And the lady was like, well, what's the name of your company? It's like, well, we don't have one.
Yeah.
It's like,
Great
well,
name.
what do you do? We do corporate events. Well, corporate events Inc. is available.
Hell of a brand.
Yeah.
It's like they worked in Staten Island.
Yeah, right, yeah.
It's not a web address, so it's a very short one, corporateeventsinc.net.com, back in the day,
Yeah.
which could have done a little shorter on that for the email addresses, but that was it. And honestly, at that time, it was 25 years ago. We just hit 25 years this year.
Good for you.
It was kind of a pioneering business. So you have the AV rental houses, you had producers, but you didn't really have, let's say, audiovisual, I'm not saying middlemen, but someone could tie it all in no matter where you're going. So a lot of AV rental houses will be dedicated to one area. They support that area. They're trucking. Like with our clients or the clients you see, their shows don't just happen in one city all the time. I mean, some do, but
yeah.
But a lot of them are, they're traveling around, and if not global or national. So yeah, it was a good kind of mix. And so about, 2009 to 2011, when the financial hardship, recession, all that kind of stuff took place.
I don't remember it.
Yeah.
No
issues here.
Yeah.
From building up from I was basically like employee 3, if you will, because I think in my time too, I was either offered, because I worked for the same company, which I did in college, of doing audiovisual, San Diego State, the comms department, they love that because I could provide a bunch of stuff. But anyway, the options were either go to New York to be a project manager for a medcom company, or go to Phoenix, to learn how to be a project manager out there, or, take a go for it, just doing freelance.
Well, step me back though, and this might be a naive question, but because look, we obviously go to a lot of events. Shit, we have them at EO, right? Like crazy, big ones. What is give me just a quick case study of what your involvement is, or maybe what are the bigger ones? If you're doing a Vegas show, or what do you actually do?
Great question.
Yeah.
Great question.
Yeah.
Well, kind of like to see these microphones, these wires, these cables, these lights, these cameras.
Right.
And you've been to the shows, you've seen the big screens, pipe and drape.
That was fun. I was sitting next to you at GLC in Ireland.
Oh,
and
I'm sure he was probably commenting.
Yeah, he's commenting the whole time. So I haven't seen that kind of slide deck in a little while. This is
I thought it was a very innovative slide deck. Yeah. See, I got to be honest with you, it's a very well run show, and this probably what ruined me for all entertainment and all going to concerts or anything like that, because your mind just gets programmed. You're looking, you're listening for things that are going
stealing
on.
ideas.
So to get in on your question, whether it be organizing all that equipment. I always like to, it's a great guy, Tyler, started Evolve. He's since passed and all that jazz. We have a great analogy of what do? We go out there and build sandcastles. It's to go into a ballroom setting, any hotel event venue, canvas that you have, bring in all the equipment, organize all that stuff, set it up, get it working correctly. I mean, I always say there's so many little things, that can go wrong.
Gremlins.
Yeah. Do you have an interior designer on staff? How do you know where to put shit?
Little creative directors. And the outside of getting that knowledge of being around it to know, there's whole mathematical formulas.
Sure.
How far the speakers should be placed, your line of sights, before you stack at other speakers, angles you have for screens and screen size at distance. So there is some technical background on this, but I think back in our days, there wasn't really now they have a Full Sail Academy and places to learn this craft.
Is that where geometry comes into play? Because I'm still trying to understand where geometry fits into the whole mix of things.
The Pythagorean theorem for you. So
what's going on in my mind right now?
So here's the question then, because this leads to, the three of us actually were just in Cabo San Lucas for the EO retreat, which was a very amazing event, but there was problems, and so, surprise, so with, rooms or whatever it was, right? And plans change. What's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you, or what the biggest problem you've ever had in an event?
Yeah, because this is definitely a business. It's not if, it's when.
That's,
I think, you ask what we do, a lot of it is solving problems. It's never going to be the square, peg, square hole kind of thing when you go into these different settings and everything, whether you get all the tech specs from the hotel and it's all math and rigging points and all this kind of good jazz of designing, that process. It doesn't always quite work out the same way, or no, that outlet that's power you're applying for is not operational day. There's always going to be pivots outside of room availabilities and when you get in,
sure,
and all that kind of good jazz. But yeah, sorry, losing my train of thought.
Any crazy embarrassing moment that you've had?
Yes. Right as you said that,
maybe you almost got fired, or who knows?
No, the first event, that kind of comes to mind. Embarrassing, that could be totally different, but doing something up in Montreal, one day where I was just kind of the consultant going from kind of show to show, but other people had set up shows I was going in to operate and kind of project manage, if you will. and roll into this one dinner, like all last minute, and room's all set, everything's all good to go, and I'm watching the screen, people are coming in, and the screen just starts kind of glitching. But then it holds, and I'm like, what was that? And a technical problem. And it's like, okay, wait a minute. So now I'm starting to look, and I'm realizing the wiring, like, okay, wait a minute. That backup projector is looped to projector 1. So if projector 1 goes bad, projector 2 is out, and we're sitting there with, what in our hands.
Yeah.
So, of course, what can we do? Basically, at this point, we got to pray, my clients, because I'll tell you what, I think this is one of the top 5 most stressful jobs as put out there in some survey that I saw, military, police, first responders, and like event coordinators.
Yeah.
When you think of like
it's a wedding, or something like that. I mean,
millions of dollars, tens of thousands, millions, how going to do it on the line on one day, maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours at the wedding. You put all that energy.
It's like Apple, Steve Jobs coming up. Like, go ahead.
Yeah. And if it goes wrong, there's a lot of
sorry, the phone doesn't work. Yeah,
and stress. Or the slide. So that embarrassing moment is a good glitch, kind of going to the side as the show went on. And it's like, okay, just keep praying because I can't roll a lift in here. I can't get up there without the table set. And then, of course, get gone. And I don't think you've ever seen, something better than a well-respected doctor up there in his craft when they lose their slides and they don't have their talking points. So he was just up there like kind of crickets looking at me. And I think my first response was, thinking through solutions in my head. But I really
pull the fire alarm.
Like, do the best that you can do. I'll be right back. Because I knew there was one projector on a stand across the hotel and some slide review room. Like, how do I get an image back on screen? So this is me. I'm just tell the client, I'll be right, like, do what you can. I'm out of here. Go running out of the room, bailing across the hotel, back. I think I had to take the projector was locked to this cart. I got to take the whole thing. Yeah. Me rolling it. Things are flapping around. I think I fell going down the escalator. At one point, I'm coming in there, limping, bleeding. But, and I'm, basically going to the front of the room, having to do a quick impromptu, let's get a projector and a laptop, throw them the remote, go. And it's a cockeyed image. And I mean, if anything that we've done, I think my dad always just like to say, we have like a 99.9% success ratio.
Right.
Anesthesiologists work in the kind of the same fashion, right? I mean, they do a ton of work, and then it's super boring until it's not. And it sounds like
his life was on the line.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's kind of embarrassing. And then, of course, after that, came the reaming from, a big client kind of company.
Sure.
Which was a fantastic thing to say, I'm sorry, we had to go with your preferred vendor. That's the guy you want to talk to. I did my best in the moment. I was just hired in there to press buttons and, flip stuff and make it go.
Right.
For a minute.
So have you ever had that happen to your company?
No, I mean, there's all kinds of tragedies, that go on, but it's a lot of fixes, not something to that degree.
Right. Well, I mean, were there, okay, so then I'm kind of jumping around a little bit here, which is abnormal, but what's a lesson that maybe you learned from that? Or that, how's that? Is there anything, is it avoidable?
No.
Right? And the answer is no, right?
It goes with one of our core values of the company, aim to find solutions, or I used to say always be solving, because there's no blame game. I mean, there's no one you can turn to and say, it's this guy's fault. It doesn't matter.
The internet goes out. It's what can you do?
Technology is technology, right? I mean,
there's 1,000 people in the room, kind of sitting around looking, and it's always those that they take away. So it's not all the good stuff. 99% of the time could have been good, but that one little flicker of the screen, something gets knocked over, some presenter's mic doesn't work. That is the takeaway.
Got it. Got it.
Of the thing that went wrong. So
you're saying the Yelp reviews are most.
Yeah, I'm gonna get on the Yelp review. It's quiet side. Process, but
I hate Yelp. How many employees? How big is the company? Can you share revenue? Can you talk company size, all that stuff? You don't have to.
5% and all that kind of good jazz.
Yeah.
We're coming off a great era of growth. I got to credit a lot of that to EO and EOS, and I'd give props to Michelle Kipralani, who was our EOS implementer.
Oh, he's your implementer. Yeah.
That turned me on to there's this thing called EO.
You know your rocks now.
Yeah, no, and I had rocks. Quadis, the whole shebang. Definitely EOS trained at this point, but I never really considered myself, even back then, like an entrepreneur.
Right.
I mean, just to kind of double down on that.
It's funny, I still don't.
Yeah,
I believe they have a term for that called the imposter syndrome.
I fully realize what that is.
Yeah. Well, tell me.
No, so 2011, when the economy kind of took a turn, the parents had grown the company, maybe about 9 people. You're still a good office, working out of dad's garage.
Sure.
Everything on the road. But in 2011, I mean, we were down to basically one client, revenues had shrunk way off, because when stuff like that happens, corporate stops spending.
Sure.
And I remember telling, my parents, I did my own business, the CI Productions, for a year, and kind of saying, you know what, I'm still young. They're like, we got enough to retire. We're good. I'm like, I'm kind of young. I kind of want to keep this thing going.
Sure.
So they were, gracious enough to, kind of gift the company, my way, and a deal of like continuing to try to, support them in their retirement years was
So to be clear, they didn't gift you a $50 million company that you just, it was, you're like, I'm going to make this work.
I don't want to call it dad too much. There was one big client that we had too, it's like, oh, you're going to get this big show and big client. And my other ones were, were very small accounts that I had worked on.
Yeah.
I think the first show that we did, I won't say the company's name or anything like that.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it executed, it went well, but my, dad, who's been running that thing for a while, kind of went head to head, kind of with the producer guy that apparently had a lot more pull than my dad did, or doing a debrief call where this guy's wanting extra and this and that. And my dad, was very firm, like, no, you're full of it. And yeah, he had a very good relationship with the event coordinator, but no, the guy's relationship was stronger. And basically after the first show of this big 6-figure show, I got pulled, lost that account. So really sitting with just what I had, my hand. And I can definitely remember, I think 2011, jumping on flights to go out to the middle of North Carolina, rent a car full of gear, go out to some restaurant, just doing, webcasts or little shows just to pay the mortgage.
Sure.
So from there, that's
so you had to grind basically.
And that's
all my life.
Yeah.
And that's at the end of the day, that's really what a founder is, right? When you think about, how a founder, what their impact is to the business versus a CEO, and I think that's really one of the clear definable differences between an EO versus a YPO or something along those lines, where you're walking into a completely different set of circumstances, and I do think that that's why people are more emotionally tied to their business as a founder.
I built this with my own 2 hands.
Blood, sweat, and tears. Yeah,
well,
for sure.
It's your baby, right?
Yeah.
It's
your favorite child.
Yeah.
I hate to say it.
Yeah. And sometimes you want to kill it.
Yeah. I didn't say. Yeah. No, I said your favorite child. I mean, but we all have those days, right?
That's the gracious thing of EO, because I always used to say, like, I have like 24 of the greatest, bestest friends. They're amazing. I love them all. I pay them all.
Yeah.
Kind of a little different, connotation of that. How much you can really get in, with your employees. I mean, I'm a pretty open book, but at the same time, you got to be mindful of that. Of what you're saying, how you're doing it.
Oh, I learned that lesson the hard way. I mean, I had if I said like we were hurting, right? Or like, hey, we're low on cash, right? Like you had people looking for work. I'm like, no, we're fine. I'm just trying to be honest. And I learned, I was like, I can't be that transparent. We had, I have to tell this story real quick. We had a girl that was working for me. I had bought Kirkland coffee for the Keurig instead of Starbucks because it was like 40 cents versus like 60 cents, and she started telling people that we were going out of business because I was buying the cheaper. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like
they talk. It turns out they talk.
Water cooler's a real thing. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I get it. So how many? So are most of your people contract because you can do, or do you have?
I mean, I have a ton of contractors, but
Sure.
no, we realized like kind of early on, with the transition where I think medical communications really built this up, where pharmas and whatnot would hire them, and that's how we'd get our business to the medcoms. Well, there was an era where pharma, or big med, started to take that kind of in-house to be on like master service agreements or preferred vendors and all that. So that was that same kind of trying time where we lost a bunch of business because we weren't on the preferred account of said whatever company. So making that transition, I think was very, I realized it kind of, very important, and was blessed enough to kind of, get in there and having, say, a good reputation or being recommended for stuff that, kind of led us to the light. But we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me get to a little bit of your personal stuff real quick, and then maybe we'll jump back into business. So, Heather, who was also in Cabo, adores you.
She's a brilliant soul.
She told me that you guys had some personal conversations about some stuff. And you got into your 5% with Heather. I was not available for that.
That's one of the things I love about Brian. I really just got into this man in GLC.
She said
this
he's
YouTube is Forum Confidential.
This is Forum Confidential.
Yeah.
The 8 people that listen will know, but other than that,
Yeah.
So no. So what were you talking about? Tell us a little bit about your past and how. Because one thing I do know about you, and I'll just say this before you start, is that you're extremely spiritual. You have you're like a biohacker like crazy. Like I listen to you talking about various foods and medicines or whatever it is, like, and how you use it, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. So I'm, which is right up Heather's alley. She's spiritual as hell. Yeah. So like you two are like 2 peas in a pod, which is probably how this all comes out. So what's going on? How did we get here?
Well, I'll tell you, I think it all goes back to COVID, I wouldn't say these are things that were on my mind prior to the age of 44. you know, just kind of getting through, say, COVID and, you know, what happened.
Getting old doesn't hit your brain until your late 40s, early 50s.
Well, yeah. You know, the whole I'm grateful for joy, grateful for pain kind of thing. Like, it's hard to be grateful for the pain, I think, when you're in the middle of the suck, but definitely in the hindsight to have these things kind of happen for us. You know, I think COVID was one of those where, from a guy who's been traveling the world, you know, for 20 years, gone, you know, 2 to 3 weeks out of every month in some different city and some location, and being a married guy with a family and things that name, and 3 kids, Alex, Ben, Charlotte, props.
Cool. How old, real quick, oldest to youngest?
Oldest, Alex, 23.
Okay.
Middle, Benjamin, he's 20. Okay. And then we got Charlotte, the princess, at 11.
Okay.
Princess Charlotte.
Perfect.
Princess Charlotte, born on the same day at the same time as the other princess across.
Says Heather, Charlotte, her name's Heather's daughter, Charlotte.
Charlotte Elizabeth too, which is the same name as the royalty that was, I think, born on there.
Nice.
So,
okay, so
West Side. So we were going with So COVID, I think I found myself like sitting with yourself. I think for a little bit, you know, when you're all in the house, can't go anywhere. I mean, definitely a Gen X kid, latchkey kid. I know how to do this game, you know.
Yeah.
Sit around and, you know, watch shows.
Right back to puzzles.
Yeah. Which I give up a lot. I think TikTok came out at the same time, where I always call that my antidepressant.
Oh, God.
At that time. I mean, outside of, you know, other things.
You were scrolling?
I think, you know, that first phase, you know, where you're drinking all day, you know, maybe have a few spliffs. And,
I think I'm still in first phase.
Yeah. But I've had to, like, you know, getting creative again, you know, where it's like kind of putting on, who's going to see this? I'm not putting on, I stopped the Facebook thing. I'm just doing this TikTok thing. Goofing around, you know, so a lot of goofing, I kind of think started to bring out that little creativity, you know, I think I might've lost or got subdued, but I think, you know, sitting with that, obviously, or not obviously, I'd say, you know, kind of came to a head, let's say, with the family and my wife in situations where I, you know, left the house. Of just, you know, I think we struggled having my oldest Alex, you know, who had to experience COVID over his senior year.
Yeah, that's tough.
Hard on not just him, but a lot of kids. And
mine too.
Yeah.
Through, of course, you know, some mental health challenges, you know, with that, which of course it's always hard on a family.
Yep.
So, you know, kind of when nobody has the answer and we can't get on the same page, you fight, you riff.
Yeah.
Ended up, you know, leaving the house, you know, I think it was like, you know, May, June 2020, something like that. So, sorry, it's gonna be a long story, but
it's all right. Dude, we got time.
Yeah. So kind of sitting, I remember getting this, like, I called it like Divorce Academy or something, you know, you get Seagate, you know, up in North County, where I had a beautiful unit, view of the sunset every night over the ocean. I'm grateful for that. And kind of through COVID, which was a whole massive change for us, because for a live event company, when COVID hit, it's what the hell are we doing?
Yeah, nothing.
Which, even the wife at that time, like, God bless us, we were very much in a good position. Had just done probably the biggest pinnacle show of our careers.
Okay.
Right before COVID hit. So to say we're sitting on a little cash, sitting in a good cash position, but not knowing where the end was or end inside.
That's scary.
Yeah. No, it was definitely when, hey, we gotta pivot. We gotta start doing something. A lot of resistance, you know, within the company, like, let's give another week. We're gonna be back.
It was 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks. Turned into almost 2 years. But so it was a lot of that. And I remember, you know, kind of, you know, the wife even being like, okay, you got this money. You should just pull it down for the family. You know, fire everybody, you know, kind of thing. Let's preserve the family. And it's like, well, not exactly. You know, I know how we got here. I know where that money came from. And I believe in this team that, you know, I've assembled, you know, at that time. So I can say it with pride, you know, over COVID, we never had to furlough anybody, never laid anybody off or anything of that nature, because we were in that good cash position. But then the pivot, you know, into virtual meetings, is something we double, triple down on hard. Some that used to be maybe 2-3% of our business became 100%, which wasn't a bad model at all, you know, to be.
Actually, it saves you a lot of money, I would presume.
Built out a studio.
Yeah.
Just shows up to work. We don't have to travel. A lot of expenses, you know, controlled, where the revenues went way down, but the profits went way up.
Sure.
So that was like, well, we're hitting a sweet spot. But in that same kind of, you know, turn of the coin, I didn't really know what to kind of do with myself, you know, being a guy that was always out there traveling.
Right.
You know, set up myself. Life Path 5. I'm all about freedom, travel, experiences, things of that nature.
Yeah.
Like being in a position where I didn't not say have like purpose or value, but like I didn't know kind of what to do. I mean, I find myself, I think, cooking for the crew. You know,
were you making sourdough bread?
I didn't get the sourdough bread part, but got the Blackstone going.
Okay, yeah.
Feeding the troops. That's always been near and dear. You know, happy bellies, happy people.
Yeah.
But I think in that, you know, kind of discovery, you know, I think of being out of the house, you know, I usually by 2:00 every day, I'm taking a, you know, walk on the beach, you know, and, you know, getting my feet in the sand. I love, you know, contemplation time, you know, unto myself, you know, maybe taking a little nibble of chocolate here or there, as you walk down the beach to expand your mind a little bit.
Yeah.
And, things just kind of started happening, whether you be like feelings, things, getting into the meditation and self-improvement. I think when anybody is like, going through a separation, divorce and all that, it's like,
so let's go back, because you kind of jumped a little bit. So you left the house, but you didn't say you were going through a separation. So like,
oh yeah, it was full on like, divorce,
like, cause okay. Yeah. So, okay. And then let's just real quick, cause by the way, I'm divorced, no judgment here. So is Dr. Gallo. I keep calling you doctor because I like calling you doctor. But the tough on the kids, obviously, more so on Charlotte, I would presume. Or was it the other way around?
I think it was the other way around.
Okay.
I got to be honest, from somebody, who's traveling a lot, and, and now granted, when I'm home, I was able to, spend time with the kids and do things and be his fault,
you become present when you're not present.
Yeah. But no, I actually having the one-on-one time, because at that point, my boys, kind of being teenagers, they're doing their own thing. They got their own life. Ben, he fit in very well with the whole online school, and, no worries with him. Alex, a little bit more, because he was very social, very out there, very doing things. So tough time on them. But for Charlotte and I think it would be about 5, 6 as she was, like when you had just one-on-one time, or you're 50%, like we, bless Gina, 50-50 and keeping that going on.
And listen, going through that, because there's always money at stake, right? And there's obviously your differences. How did you navigate that decently, or were you really just thrown?
The record would probably say, I would say tactically, yes, navigating and supporting, all the houses, keeping everybody whole.
Yeah.
But the emotion side, this is always
the emotional side with the kids is obviously, I mean, each kid's gonna bear the brunt in a different way.
This was definitely the zone where me and Charlotte, became homies.
I found that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. I found that big time with my children. When I got divorced, eventually I got closer relationships with them.
Well, 100%.
Because I had one-on-one time with them, which I thought was really important.
Well, yeah, when you get our adult bullshit out of the way, as far as the energy and the vibes that go on within the household or something like that, a little clarity I think starts.
Well, when you're like, I mean, if you're doing it right, and you have like my son was 3 when we got divorced.
Oh wow!
So we had to do like 1-1, 2, 5, 2, 3, 2,
2, 3, 2.
Like there's just stuff like that. But but then so when I was on, I was on. When I was off, I was off. Right? And because you couldn't be on when you were off,
which was always just a weird space.
It's very well, and then when you're week on, week off, I mean, like I used to joke, it's like the benefit of divorce and the horror of the horror of divorce is not seeing your kid. The benefit is having a little bit of a break.
I was looking at it,
and then
like
you could do what you wanted.
Yeah, I was looking at Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of thing. You're like, wait, now I'm a single guy, and wait, now I'm a dad. And you can't let them bleed into each other, right?
Yeah, big time.
Yeah,
but
it was a weird space.
A bunch out of that. But so you're kind of there's a new Brian forming here.
There's a new Brian forming. Yeah, I think. I mean, I think constantly is.
Yeah,
we're constantly changing, but. Yeah, finding myself, like, say, sitting with myself on those evenings where no kids are around and watching another sunset and, maybe doing some meditation. Like, I don't think I'd ever really done that. I always had something going on, somebody around, a full house, all that kinds of stuff. So to kind of sit with yourself, for a minute. And I also get a little something for sun gazing, or watching sunsets. I was probably locking in, 300, but I'm finding myself on my porch to watch that. It was a beautiful view from up there. It's great.
Yeah.
So a little bit, sun gazing, catching the beach every day, getting out there in nature and whatnot. And, like I said, like I wasn't exactly looking for something, but something came and, kind of found me.
Right.
Whether it be like mystical or like sitting there and feeling, different things or certain images coming to you. And I remember doing in meditation, like starting to see things. It was like, it's like some past lives.
Well, was that the shrooms or was that the meditation?
Funny enough, a lot, the shrooms, not so much, when these kinds of things would happen. And my kind of, past, which we'll get in here a little bit, of having that total, I think, break and disruption, if you will. If I would call it a midlife crisis, or I want to say mental health crisis, or like the way I've kind of rationalized it, a spiritual awakening, if you will, of sorts, which it has become very near and dear to my heart, as far as what we value, what we're focused on, what's important to us and things like that. And I think it was a part of me that was lost, that was always kind of there on some deeper level,
I've had some pretty deep conversations with you over the last couple months, and I'm always impressed by how far down the rabbit hole you go.
I live down there.
Yeah. I'm always impressed by, I'm like, if I want to start a conversation with you, I got to be prepared to lock in for a bit, because you get in there, and that's impressive that you have the amount of curiosity. I envy that curiosity to be able to get down into the bottom of that hole and go, no, I'm not at the bottom. There's more here.
Actually, I want to understand it.
The only thing I know is I know nothing at all to an absolute certainty. After all the research and look at all the things, everything can change at a moment's notice. And the curiosity of being a truth seeker, I think in that time, I mean, definitely with my spiritual awakening, the truth, what is, became very relevant, very important. When I'd say thought about stuff, but experienced forces that were in the woo or not of the logical mind or not in this world. That anybody can kind of relate to, and spending time, within that, community after having, some crisis, if you will, or that what they call midlife crisis, spiritual awakening, whatever. It got pretty gnarly, there for a minute. It got a little kind of scary.
What's your passion?
Ooh,
good question.
I think, I had a form mate, we were having a conversation in Cabo, and it's like, two things you want to focus on is who are you, what am I, who am I, and what do you want? And that I don't know if I'd have a clear cut answer to be like, gratitude, I love appreciation, things like that. Trying to romanticize the day, trying to let's say at the end of the day, fall in love with yourself,
right?
Kind of thing. I think if anything in the last couple of years, that's become, I think, the most important relationship is just the one I have with myself.
Right.
And I'm grateful for things like
mine's dysfunctional.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Well, and what is your relationship with yourself? Like, how do you get to that conclusion of where you are?
I think we're honest. We can look and say, okay, bro, you've been like kind of drinking on the boat here a little bit too much. Face is swelling up. Like, gotta get on it. But I think not being critical, not loving, yourself, or there's so many things I think that are out there, a program to let you know that you're not enough.
Right.
Maybe more, even when you get this high score, there's another high score, a dollar amount, a bigger boat, a bigger this, a bigger that. But to be enough, in the moment, I think wherever you are has become very relevant. That I'm not, like, say, striving to be an idealist, what somebody's told me I should be at, versus like, okay, I always say, if it feels good, do more. If it hurts, do less, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key to what you just said is kind of measuring backwards, right? It's like the gap in the gain, right? If you're thinking forward, you're measuring to something that you may or may not be able to take. You're looking at a horizon line that's just going to keep fucking being there.
Being present.
But be present to now, and then look at where you were, right? So what's the growth, and it doesn't have to be huge. It's small. It doesn't matter.
I mean, my world is this has almost been like, I wouldn't say full on 180, but of what matters to me, what I think about, what I focus on, things I like to explore or read or expose to.
Yeah.
Completely different from my list, back in the day, the sports and the bread and circus and all this kinds of stuff, and, gambling and all these distractions, I think. I always like to say, like, I smoked pot once for like 30 years.
Right.
This emotional numbing of realizing, there was something that was off, in my life, something that wasn't in alignment. And I just would numb that until I sat with it.
But with that being said, though, it's, to me, I think it's okay to have those moments. There's not, there's nothing wrong with gambling on a weekend.
Moments,
but they have to just be moments, and you have to know that, hey, this is a special occasion.
Well, in society, sometimes they frown upon you having that moment.
But here's the thing: who gives a shit about society?
Well, it depends on your actions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as long as you're not hurting someone, if you're
just yourself,
just yourself. But I mean, to that point, like, I think as a younger man, I so much cared about what other people thought of me, and now at 56, I'm like, I don't give a fuck what you think.
Oh, I still find
you don't like me? Bye. Okay, I'll go hang with Mark and Brian.
So obviously you don't care.
Coming out of the hospitality world, I mean, the people pleasing, aspect, and really focusing on it. Like, am I doing this for me and what I want, or because I want to do it, or am I doing this to please somebody else?
Exactly.
And no doubt, being all credit to mom, that customer service realm and hospitality, you're always serving others in the best way, not like, say, giving them your peace of mind and what you really think.
I always joke, I'm gonna be a Labrador Retriever for sure. In
the next life, or
now.
I believe you can serve people and do what you want to for yourself too. You know what I'm saying? Like it can be both ways.
Well, I think I love the Mahani song is like, the wise man, if you really want to find true wealth, put another before yourself kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one thing to say. And it's another thing to really feel that, do that, not be in those like kind of selfish ways, but it's hard not to be selfish, like self-preservation and shit.
Yeah.
I love that this is a podcast on business owners, and we are totally
Right,
riffing. We are riffing right down a whole "why am I here" conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what you want to do in the merger and
are we
acquisition?
here, by the way.
No, but I mean, honestly, thinking about it, and I got to be honest with you, the conversations that I've had with you, I'm like, I knew exactly where this is going to go today. Because I mean, this is one of the things I respect. You challenge the standard. You challenge the norm.
Cool.
You've challenged that in conversations you and I have had, and I've always been constantly impressed by it. I also have prepared for it, right? Because it's not just the usual witty back and forth, like, oh, my business is doing this and da da da.
No, and it's kind of funny when I think you surrender, in kind of a way. Like for me, I gave the world, everybody, every opportunity to want to cut and run, or every opportunity to fail, if not be here, now, right here, right now. And kind of in letting that go and not prioritizing money or things of that nature, everything just started to kind of flow, and then the surrender kind of way, and then the opportunities and the things that come into your life. So, I mean, without
it's like manifestation.
Without that kind of break and then that time, which, definitely spend time in recovery, which it's kind of a weird one when you're having that, mental health crisis and you're not say a drug addict, and you're not, on alcohol, booze or fentanyl or any of these kinds of things, but you fall into this kind of weird category, when you're looking for, I think, help in that regard. It was like it's okay to not be okay kind of thing. But in our society, no, it's not okay to not be okay. Like you got to keep it together.
Yeah, it's got to be on Facebook. It's got to be good.
Yeah. So I mean, going into that realm, let's say recovery and things of that nature, where a lot of these things like yoga and meditation, started to get exposed to and practiced, on a daily. And that work, on the self, whether it be cognitive behavioral therapy type groups and things of that nature, that really starts to unpack a lot of, what you'd say, the inner child wounds and things of that nature, to really sit with that, for a minute and then get it out of your system.
Do you do transcendental meditation or do meditation? Do you meditate daily?
I try to make it a point to meditate, every day. Usually
15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5, 10, 8, 20.
I usually go for about 20. I do like when the schedule provides the 40, sometimes even locking in for a 60.
Eyes open, eyes closed.
I'm close.
Okay.
I'm an eyes closed kind of guy. Yeah. But
nice.
I think
that's incredible, by the way. I'm envious because I would like to, I try, and I feel like I need to be taught. Like I can't get out of my own head.
First thing I say is stop trying.
Yeah. Right.
Do not try.
Yeah.
Which I got to give it up, like getting turned on to say somebody like Joe Dispenza, and some of those guided meditations, because I think I remember going through a really hard night, fighting it, this is that, whatever, just being out of sorts and going back to my office, which I lived out there for a little while or something, and I'm going to turn on this YouTube, anxiety guided meditation or something for a minute. This is before all that kind of happened.
Yeah.
And I'm more of that mindset. I do kind of need that guidance. I think I'm getting to a spot now where you can find yourself meditating without that guidance. But I think the Joe Dispenza, meditations initially really started to unlock some things, of getting to a certain, let's say dropping in. I always like to say, you see that star pattern kind of come up and it kind of rotates this way or rotates that way. Mm-hmm. Getting to know thought was definitely key. And then because out of all this, my curiosity for everything just expanded, from reading, Dispenza's books to, the spiritual paths. I mean, my YouTube, you pull it up, it's pretty unique, as for the Aubrey Marcus's or the Wayne Dwyers or any of these kinds of spiritual gurus, really was capturing my interest. I think, movies lost their kind of passion, or the whole script lost its passion, but it's like, who am I? What's going on? Kind of getting back to that, earlier statement Fortin made, said. But now, as of the last, I think, couple of years, where I discovered the Robert Monroe, the Robert Monroe Institute, and this ties into the whole what the CIA used with the Gateway program when they were trying to do the astral projection and remote viewing. You can look into this. There's a whole thing. It's documented. It's online. They were doing this. To do remote viewing and all their spying, but they tapped into Robert Monroe, what he was doing with his out-of-body experiences that he kind of stumbled upon.
Yeah.
So that has a lot to do, I think, with different frequencies, in the ear, what he calls hemisync. We have like a 432 and like a 434 frequency, so they're just slightly off. And as the brain tries to make sense of it, left ear, right ear, you get into a state of what's called hemisync, where you hear this kind of your brain's processing it, but you're engaging basically your entire brain, at that point.
Yeah.
Left brain, right brain, all that
Sure.
kind of good stuff. But when I started doing these, 'cause they're on YouTube too, and you need headphones in and all that kinds of stuff, to listen to them on YouTube. First time I kind of did this, something different, kind of happened, outside of seeing the, green hexagonal things or, just a different style of meditation, I think was going on and, getting a little bit deeper,
Yeah.
if you will. And now granted, sometimes it's hard to get without, plant-based medicines and things of that nature, but
yeah, exactly.
And then, when you're doing that, not so much for recreational, but really, it would be the opposite of that, like more of that true spiritual journey, or connection and looking to get some answers or to get some direction. Yeah. Kind of, to get to no thought has been like the point. Yeah.
So from, would you say, I guess, if you look at your growth, your education now in this, and how has it affected you? Because I'm interested in this, obviously, because I'm stressed about business, and do you look at things differently? I'm actually much calmer than I used to be. Like, believe it or not, I'm not as stressed as much, even when it's a stressful situation, just because I've been through so much. Well, how have you evolved as a person through this? Would you say?
A couple of things. Right. Like I give it up, to my forum, to have a room that we can get in like this and talk to, 7 other people that are going through similar things. No matter what business you're in, it's all kind of the same. Whether
sure.
Imposter syndrome or business issues or personnel and all that kinds of stuff. But having, I think, a continued forum, after, let's say, recovering groups and stuff like that, to continue that conversation. I always like to say, if I'm the dumbest person in the room, I'm in the right room. And
100%.
Being around this place, I'm always in the right room, because I think what stood out to me definitely from GLC is when the gentleman, I think a director or something like that, was like, what do you get when you take the G out of ego? You get EO.
Yeah.
And no doubt, I think that's, what I experience is a bit of that, ego death, if you will, which I think you're constantly, fighting that, ego and battle, and it's the constant two wolves that you're feeding. But
well, it's funny you say that though, because I agree with you 1,000% from ages 30 to 45 for me. And then I just said, I don't care anymore. I don't know. For me, that's just that was my experience.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a little bit of form of surrendering. A little bit, where you realize there's only so many things you can control, and some things just are. It just is.
Well, it's like, who cares? I'm making this a matter. No one cares.
It's all your relationship and perspective on everything. I think when you understand that you're in control of that perspective and you have that choice versus that program response, this shouldn't be happening today. I got a flat tire, whatever. Hey, I got a flat tire. I get to change a tire. I get to, and who knows who you're going to meet along the way.
What is it always? Every time something that happens to you, say 3 things good about that event happening. Changes your perspective on the entire event.
It's all perspective. I think, and everything, and our relationship to the event. That's something definitely discovered over the years. So. You can chill. It's not to say you're not emotional. You're going to have emotions, and things are. It's also you're going to be a little
sliding glass doors. Like you ever, it's a
run into one of those.
No, it's like if you go. I think it's a movie. It's a movie called Sliding Glass Door.
Okay.
This is Gwen. She goes on the train at one point, and something happens, and then another time she misses the train, and then something else happens, right? And so everything happens for a reason. It's like timeline. So that bad thing that happened to you probably created 3 other good things.
Butterfly.
So
even like my son is scary and as daunting, as it has been, like the person he's become or transitioned into through this experience. I mean, no doubt of living, young, reckless life, like driving fast and, living hard. Who's to say, dead or in jail or on drugs or something? Now all that is completely opposite.
So,
the kid is heart-centered.
So what's Brian working on now?
Yeah. Shoot, getting through this podcast. No,
it's a struggle, brother.
Yeah,
it's a struggle.
This is the year, I really, I'll be inspired through the CEO experience or anything like that. Like, I felt like I wasn't kind of doing enough, and even when I was always out there and I was always kind of the, leader of the band, as we'd go city to city. I always say we were a ragtag guerrilla group that just kept, winning wars out there. But I definitely, had a role and played a role out there on the road. Being at home, sitting with myself or being in the office every day, it's like, okay, what am I working on? What am I doing? Granted, with EOS, that gave us a lot of things to focus on.
Sure.
Really building out that leadership team. And I think an employee of mine just said today, he was talking about EOS with somebody else, and they're like, oh, we're having to do this damn EOS is all bull. And he's like, oh, no, it's really good. Like without this structure, without this focus, without this intentionality, our growth that we've seen, over the last couple of years wouldn't be there. And not only that, the structure, I think the respect that you see amongst people, that we're all coming in here with a driven purpose. So I think that, sitting there not knowing what to do. And for a while, didn't build it out. then you realize you're not relevant anymore. And then it's like, okay, what do I do now?
Yeah,
How big is the team?
I want to say about 26.
Okay.
Just hired another person out in UK.
How do you handle, I did, well, I was a much bigger company at one time and I tried EOS, but the problem is that I had is that people leaving. How does that affect you, or have you overcome that?
It's funny. I think over our years, I think we've seen probably 2 to maybe 3 people self-select out.
Yeah.
And I remember
So you have a high retention.
I have a very high retention rate. Like people come on, they never leave.
Yeah.
And even the people that say
Hotel California. That's the new name of the company.
never leave. Yeah. It is. I remember being knee high or whatever when back in the 80s you could work with your parents, and that's how I kind of got into this. My mom would be like, "Hey, I got to go set up this room. Come on, jump in the car. We're going here." And be at different hotels, and I think taping cables and all that from the age of 10 or something like that. But I remember one of the guys being like, "Whatever you do, don't get into this business. It'll totally stunt you." I'm like, huh? Because I got to say, Mike Posey, I think he was wrong back in the day. This has been an awesome and amazing business, an amazing ride, and it's not your normal 9 to 5. Shit's always different.
Are you tracking for growth or trajectory? How is it? What's your plans? What's your goals for the business from a KPI standpoint?
I think definitely profit margin. When you look at your gross profit of like what healthy companies are. I mean, we were always, I think, in a different mindset where every year you wanted to almost zero out the books, pay less in taxes, all that kinds of stuff.
Been there.
A smaller kind of, company or organization where I was like, wait a minute, you read some Crabtree books and things of that nature. And it's like, when you start to identify, well, wait, this isn't the science of a healthy growing business. It's something that's just always just working just probably by the skin of its teeth when you look at
proprietorship,
2 to 3% profit margins or something like that. And at the end of the year. But yeah, getting focused on that where you see like what gets, focused on gets changed. I think that's one.
Has it been a lifestyle business for you kind of previously?
I was 100% a lifestyle.
Yeah. I'm on that boat. And now I'm finally trying to, okay, I got to end the lifestyle,
and now I'm starting to feel like, okay, maybe I am an entrepreneur. It's like building this out and starting to think, what else do I want to get into?
Well, I think what you realize is kind of the same thing that I realize is everyone has different, what they feel is success is just different to them, right? Like some people want to just scale 100x, exit, walk away, which is fantastic. I wouldn't mind doing that.
Hot topic right now, Ben Hardy.
But at the same time, like I have had a business for 26 years myself, and I've had a great time. It's been tough. There's been times I wanted to kill myself. Don't get me wrong, but now it's time to end, and it sounds like that might be end, meaning still have a lifestyle, but really try to take it to another level.
My dad always used to say, like, once we discovered what we had, we had a really gravy train, biscuit wheels kind of thing. But it's like, he always used to say to me, like, how busy do you want to be?
Yeah.
I'll give it up to my dad. My whole life growing up, he was a dude that had 5 black pants, 5 black jackets, 5 white shirts.
I know what I'm wearing today.
Cowboy boot every day.
Yeah.
That's his routine.
Cowboy boots.
And I almost wanted to like rock my Hawaiian shirt, in honor of dad and all that.
You should have. Why not?
Well, I was just kind of, everything was happening, real quick. Yeah. But no, that I think that point when he truly retired, and then we started to take corporate events with my mom. He put on a Hawaiian shirt, and he's never taken one off. Like now he's got a whole collection of rain spooners.
Dude, God bless him.
God bless his OCD. They're all like color coded, organized in there. But he never put that, black pantsuit, all that crap that he did, his whole life. So I think tying that into like, what matters. I mean, because there's another aspect to this where I think at 80, my dad, being a stroke survivor and also now a lung cancer survivor.
He had lung cancer.
Yeah, lung cancer
and he survived that. Good for that. Dude. Damn.
Oh, he's interesting time for cancers. So I won't go in that rabbit hole. But anyway, he still, obviously when you're doing chemo and all this, and the whole world's been flipped upside down. I'm sure there's a fair play of depression.
Sure.
Nearing end of life, kind of things. But I found myself where. Dad's purpose and dad's meaning was really tied into having a job to do and getting a paycheck.
Sure.
In response to that with probably, 6, 7, 8 years of doing this his whole life.
Yeah.
And it kind of hit me a little bit, like, because my mom was like, so at a point like, hey, you guys good? Can I kind of stop paying you now? Like, you got enough going on and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And my mom's like, I don't care. But
am I just giving you this money so you can give it back to me when you die?
Well, that's why I call him Dr. Gallo. He's my financial doctor, and he's like, Les, I don't know how you're going to retire. I'm like, retire? But like, here's the thing.
If you listen to Elon, we don't even need to worry about it in 5 to 10 years.
It's just like, you know what it is for me is I just want to work on my own terms, right? Like I can't, like I've tried to not work, and it's really hard for me.
Yeah.
You know, like I just enjoy it, and but I enjoy what I do, and that's the difference. I'm not, you know,
I say that's my most precious commodity is time and my choice of what to do with it.
Exactly.
Like, because of having to be up at this time and having to go here and having to be there and like
the having part.
I have to versus like I get to.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
that became important to me. But I remember turning to Dad, you know, being like, what if we measured our wealth by like how many hugs you got from your granddaughter per year?
Yeah.
Or how many sunrises or smiles, like this measure of purpose and meaning that was directly tied into a dollar, you know, worshiping the God economy, you know, money and all that stuff, you know, and it being the point, you know, which you're never going to win, you know.
There's always
we'll never ever win.
Elon's the closest maybe thing to it, or some other families.
Well, once you show millions, you never win.
I feel like he did win.
Yeah, he won. Yeah.
But are you? You know, more money,
Friday.
more problems. You know, I don't know.
Friday.
Baby mama's
Oh
going
yeah,
on,
dude. Yeah.
But no, I mean, that's, I think, really resonating with me, you know, as I say, it's becoming the second, you know, half of this life, you know, approaching 50, of like, what's truly important. And I mean, you can see the happiest people, you know, it might just be, you know, fishermen in some tropical third world country that
100%
get to play guitar with their friends every day.
What was that story? I think you told the story about the fisherman,
the Mexican fisherman.
Yeah, Mexican fisherman. Yeah,
it was
the American businessman and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, the guy's like, oh, you catch this fish, it's great fish. Like if you know, went longer, more hours, you got more fish, you could sell it, then you could buy more boats, and then you could expand operation. Why would I do that? Then you can move to LA, you can move to New York, and you build it up big enough, then you could sell it. And he's like, well, then what do I do? Well, then you'd have free time to like do what you want and go fish when you want or play music with your friends. Because this guy's like, what do you do all day? I go fish, I get enough for my family, then I go to the square and I play guitar and we drink cafe.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I realized that too this last weekend we were on, or I'm, you know, having a great experience.
That's a good story. I'm glad you told it.
Yeah, buddy's got a boat out there, and I'm sitting to myself on this boat in the harbor. I'm like, it turns out, like, what would you do if you had a bunch of money?
I'm already doing it. I'm doing it.
And not even like
change the people.
You know, a tough time for money and economy and inflation and all that stuff. But I mean, the simple choice.
I have to tell you, you just made me realize, because I paint. You know, and I was doing I just finished a painting, and it was like, what would you do? People were like, well, what would you? I was like, I would just sit outside and paint. I would sit outside, I'd drink a beer, listen to music, and paint. I'm like, I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
And I think finding that, like referencing that earlier, like TikTok, like finding that bit of creativity.
Yeah.
You know, or even, you know, stuff like this where you ask me, like, you know, getting involved, like this year where I'm like, I'm going to put my hand out there in the ring, you know, for the board. How can I help out more? And it's like, okay, and up with the learning chair. Okay,
sure.
It's the toughest job that
I
was just trying to help out. And that same year, I'm also, you know, going to be a moderator for my forum. Okay, great. You know, as I'm also going to navigate a divorce and, you know, still run the business and all this good stuff. But I definitely found myself with maybe not enough to do, you know, where, you know, walking the beach, doing the push-ups, meditating, all that, trying to appreciate things. But what am I creating, you know, outside of, you know, experiences and things of that nature, you know. But
it goes back to the basic question, which is, what is your passion, you know? And that's the driver, right? At the end of the day, is like, what drives you? Why do I get out of bed in the morning? What am I trying to produce?
Well, it's funny, as you say that, like, first thing bubbles up is like people. Like, there's probably nothing more than like conversations like this that I get off on, you know, for lack of a better word, you know, that I find value and joy out of talking.
Why we asked you to be on the podcast.
Yeah, unpacking, like, this is kind of my passion. Like, let's talk, let's get into it. What do you know? What have you seen? What do you got going on here?
It's a loaded question.
Let's get into it. It's funny because you've been in the, I'm sorry, how many years?
This might go into the fourth year.
Yeah, so I think I met you, when did I meet you at Ryan's? At Ryan.
A couple years ago?
Yeah, it was a couple years ago. And I was like, who are you? You know, and we started talking. I was like, man, this guy's pretty introspective.
Oh my God.
I kind of
still kind of bandy-kneed at that point.
Yeah,
too, you know?
I kind of like chat with him. I'm like, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, you know,
and then we were in Dublin together, and he got to meet my son. We had a great time. Dude. You know, obviously we're there. So I don't know. So it's just like I love that. I love the conversation. I love that I could just sit and listen to you. And
I'm
not
just
be
bummed
the
your
lead.
son doesn't have a stabbing story. You know, first time he got stabbed, you know, that back alley in Dublin.
Long story, people. Let's not get
stay away from the back alley.
That's a whole different podcast.
But you took care of my kids, so that's all that counts.
And he took care of me in that night as well. I'll tell you that much.
So we got to wrap up,
yeah.
I think. Do you have any more questions off Ian? Or you? I mean, I feel like I've heard a lot. But like, I just want to know. I guess for you specifically, I know you've got now. You're doing all these things, right? You're, as you said, learning chair, moderator, company growth, divorce, and that's not completed yet.
No.
Okay, so you're in the midst, and that's the worst part.
Yeah.
You know, and are you still living in Seagate?
No. I found an apartment off of Pine Avenue. I think I was about to go back in there before a good buddy of mine, Skylar, thanks for giving me that call right as I was about to go sign the lease. Like, why would you go back there?
Yeah.
Go down to the village, like get around people.
Oh, so are you in
Carlsbad Village? Yeah,
Oh, beautiful.
off Pine Avenue. You can find me and my daughter, tossing the football.
Right next to Colton.
I see
Colton behind the camera.
He knows.
Yeah.
Still watching those sunsets. And
well,
trying
let's
to get those
go.
beach
Let's
walks.
go hang out, man. I would
100%.
love that. And but I think it's just what's next. So, like, both personally, professionally, what's your deal?
I think kind of the themes of this year, like magical transformation.
Right.
I got to start, committing to the physical part again.
Yeah.
You can start, just chilling out, having too much fun. I eat because I'm unhappy. I'm unhappy because I eat. It's a vicious cycle, tapping into those passions, getting active. It's been great kind of getting back in the water, again. I love this El Nino summer that's coming on.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason I was here. I wanted to be a surfer, back in the day, and why I moved out here and wanted to be here so bad. But yeah, I think tapping back into nature, getting out more camping. I think more quality time with people, having good conversations like this.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like I want to get into, creating ecosystems for people to thrive, like the opportunities that I was so fortunate or lucky enough to stumble into.
Yeah.
Not everybody I've ever met that I tell about AV or anybody I've ever had ends up doing the audiovisual business, or getting into it. I think, 3 of my friends have, launched companies off of, knowing us and working with me and doing the same thing
awesome,
a little bit differently. So, and that, as bummed as it could be like, oh, you're not sticking with it. No, it's something to be, I think, proud of at the end of the day. That you were able to nudge somebody's life path a little bit this way or that way. And I think that's my passion, to either take my experience, which, of course it gets a lot deeper and darker and all that kind of stuff, but this is on the internet, it's forever. But yeah, how can I help, to share, my experience or a little bit of this and that and let everybody know it's going to be okay.
Well, I think, and that, to your point you said earlier, it's not just all about business, right?
No.
There's a life behind the business
we spend so much time, right? I mean, it's, with EO, it's what's your business? What do you do? It's always so superficial. Space.
What's your revenue? What's your profit?
Exactly. It's so superficial, but when you start getting into the core of why did you join EO? Why, to get around like-minded people, it's that expansion.
Because I thought it was going to be all that. I thought we were on business all the time. That's why I think I did my interview here, sweating, flop sweat, red face, like, I can't. I don't remember that first retreat, sitting in the car, like, what are these guys talking about? I have no idea.
Each EO's in a different space, right? I mean, everybody takes a different part away from their experience with EO, and that's, I think, where the benefit comes from this. It's not just one-sided. That's what makes us different than a YPO. That's what makes us different than a Sage. And those are the things I think that are really relevant, and that's why I've leaned into it so hard. And I'm glad to see that you're doing it as well. I think you've been an amazing add to the board. And
100%.
Yeah, and
100%.
I'm excited to get to.
By the way, we're all on the board, so that'll be.
I'm excited to get you
Is it
more.
official? Are we officially? Yeah.
Well, July 1.
Okay.
July 1.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm excited about it, and I mean, I always enjoy the conversations.
And I think it was Hawaii last year where I was like, wait a minute, that would give me the inclination to want to do it this year. Be like, that was awesome. Like just the acceptance, and like I said, that G out of the EO kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I've never really felt that. I mean, of course,
the community element, it is fantastic.
And the willingness for everyone to share and talk and be
help.
open.
And like,
I'm not protecting my nuts over here. I'm not going to tell you how I made my nuts. Like,
So,
I'm
all right,
for that.
Brian, man,
Thanks a lot,
fucking maker and founder. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you. Appreciate the invite. I was honored. And to see here with, greatness, future elect president coming in.
Elect president,
you have to salute.
And we're gonna be working heavily together.
Yeah,
just send some
heavily
emails today.
together. In fact, I was just talking to Paul about that. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Much love.